Niwebo balefwaya kafa babalanda mweumfokulira kw'abantu sikazama yusi bose batindabe abakulu n'abaana bose bashitata n'abaana mayo balelirawe mwamba sikazama ilefwaya iwe winewebo weshi mwamba leta experience olankale wabomba mwamba Emmanuel bose bakasama balefwaya mwamba Emmanuel Bakasama balefwaya mwamba Emmanuel bakasama bakulira tulefwaya mwamba wesu Emmanuel chipande ni PF tulefwaya mwamba wesu Emmanuel wakuita obwere Emmanuel mwamba mbasata Emmanuel balefwaya Emmanuel mwamba mbasata Emmanuel bakasama bakulira
Yeah, good evening and welcome to today's program. We're glad to be back. Today we have a very important discussion, a possible recall of election for candidates that were elected and do not perform. But before we go into the details, I'd just like to commiserate with you over Zambia's poor performance in New Zealand and in Australia, where our national team, the female one, has been playing. We didn't do very well with Japan. We lost 5-0, and today with Spain, it was the same, poor margin. The match that we have on 31st July is literally an academic one with Costa Rica. Both teams haven't done very well, and for us, we still have 0 points, while Spain and Japan have qualified. So the match that's coming up on Monday is purely academic. But good luck to our girls. They've done very well. They reached the top 32 teams in the world, and we have to give them kudos. And we hope that they use the lessons of Auckland, of New Zealand, of this World Cup, to make amends for both management, from FAS. We had a lot of things, allowances not paid, lies about players that were injured but were not injured. We didn't know the issues of boots. We didn't know what was the truth or not. I think we could have managed this team far better. If you look at the run-up to their preparations, the girls did very well. So a loss occurred, and the losses, I think, have affected many of soccer enthusiasts. So I thought I could start with that to commiserate with our team. We wish them well, and are still with motivation that we can receive them when they come back to Zambia next week. What we are discussing today is a recall election in many jurisdictions, especially for positions, lower positions of MPs, governors, mayors. There's an opportunity to recall an MP if what an MP or governor or public official promised is not being fulfilled. Let me take an example of countries. Even a president can be recalled for unfulfilled campaign promises, for non-performance, and there are various grounds under which you think that a public official must be recalled. Usually what happens is, I was reading about this law in places where it exists. You give the elected official 90 days to 180 days. So between 3 months to 6 months, an MP, a mayor, a governor, a president must demonstrate that they are fulfilling their promises, that they are fulfilling what they pledged when they campaigns, and they need to perform, especially on the delivery of public service, failure to which citizens can raise a petition, and they just need to raise 1/3 of the numbers of, especially the voters that cast in the previous election. That petition then triggers a referendum in which such a candidate is recalled and a fresh election is called. I thought that this matter is very important in light of especially the troubled presidency of President Hakainde Hichilema. I know his supporters feel that the president has fulfilled his pledges and his promises, or is on his way to fulfilling those pledges. They keep on reminding us that the president was elected for 5 years. In fact, that's the purpose of a recall election. Within 6 months, you see that the candidate either told lies or is not performing. You have a duty as citizens to raise a petition and recall him. In Zambia, we don't have such a law. So a debate like this can trigger law reforms that allows candidates to be accountable for what they promise and to ensure that they deliver. I looked up that you can recall presidents and other public officials in Peru, in Ecuador, in Japan, in Argentina, Germany, and the US. Usually you call back governors and mayors. It's not applicable for the president. President Hichilema promised a good economy. He said he would repair the economy. In fact, he was even giving timelines. For example, the exchange rate, he says, when I'm elected, as soon as I'm sworn in by 14 hours, you will see dramatic change to the exchange rate. He had been emphatic on the reduction of, especially the cost of living and cost of essential foodstuffs. For mealie meal, he even pegged them to prices that it would not go beyond 50 kwacha. Mealie meal would be 50 kwacha, and you would ridicule the PF for having found mealie meal at such a price, and now it was trending around 170. Now, mealie meal is 300 kwacha. Same on fuel. The president said the fuel was extremely expensive and that he would reduce it to minimum 12 kwacha. There's even that famous picture of the president even making calculations how the fuel will be reduced to 12 kwacha per liter. Fertilizer, he said it will not cost more than 250. Fertilizer now is at 1,025, 1,050, up to 1,400 kwacha. Fuel is in excess of 25, 26 kwacha instead of the pledged 12 kwacha. For foreign exchange market, it's been very volatile. The kwacha is like a yo-yo. It's coming down to 16, then it goes back to 21. It's difficult for business to plan. It's difficult for businesses to ensure that their business runs smoothly, especially that we are an import-oriented country. For electricity, mwe wantu wakwalesana mumona amalaiti mnechitafenga mwatoneshamu natupwa mwatoneshamu natupwa, and electricity is very expensive. The president promised issues like even employment, that he would tackle this. I think figures like 1 million of jobs will be created, was repeatedly made. Then broadly on other sectors, literally on every sector, you can see the president's promise, and you can find the video where the president, what he promised, what he pledged, the opposite is occurring at literally every sector, including human rights and governance. He kept on giving himself as an example that he will not allow the abuse of law enforcement agencies, he will not allow political opponents to be arrested without being given bond or bail or without justification. He said he will only allow law enforcement agencies and the police to arrest after they've done investigations. 90% of the cases, for all those that have been arrested, the matters are not even in court yet, and you wonder why investigations were not done first. So the president is a prime example of a law like a recall election law, where with a catalogue of failures, and is clocking 2 years next month, you In other jurisdictions, the public officials are given 3 months, are given 180 days, 6 months. You see in all campaigns, I'm a very keen student of politics, and I see how they campaign everywhere. Whether it's in Russia, in France, in UK, leaders give 30 days, 90 days, 100 days, that the first 100 days you see these changes. So 2 years is such a long time politically, and that's why the law on RICO stipulates within 6 months, citizens can say, no, if you fimbi. And your promises, your electoral campaign promises have not been fulfilled. And you can't claim that just because you have 5 years, therefore things ought to wait. So I'll invite you to this debate. You will be able to call us on the number that's scrolling, 0773-783-785. Both on WhatsApp and on ordinary call, we use that number, 0773-783-785. At this stage, I'll play a few videos. Then at the end of the video, I'll invite you to come and join me in the discussion. Is it possible that Zambia can have a RICO election law where we can hold, if an MP is not performing, you say, by MP, you promised this and this and this. It's been 6 months. It's been 1 year. And you have even stopped coming. We'll raise a petition to recall you. Do you think that would be plausible in Zambia? Can it be done? Or will you cite issues of there are other mechanisms to this where you make it mandatory that primary elections are important. Leaders should go through the primary election, the best candidates then win. But here we just get imposed. The leader emerges from nowhere and they become your MPs, your councillors. So there are other mechanisms we can discuss, but is it possible that Zambia can have a RICO election law? And we are citing President Hakainde Hichilemandi's numerous political campaign promises that have not come to fruition, and that literally are beginning to be a litany of broken promises. Let's play the videos.
There is absolutely no money in our bank accounts, citizens' bank accounts. There's no money. If you keep money under a mattress, that mattress now is flat. Before it used to bulge because you used to keep money under a mattress. Now it's flat because there's no money to keep under a mattress. There's nothing. It's 2019 for us. A journalist seated here, half of her mind or his mind is that, how will I buy the next bag of minimum? That applies to everybody. We've seen a situation where PF found a bag of minimum at around 30 kwacha. Now it's 170 kwacha. But your incomes have gone down in real terms, even in nominal terms. I don't want to use complicated words. In simple language, the money you receive, ndala mamuru kufola, sizikula vindu vambili, koma, sizikula vindu vambili, koma mutengo wa vindu waenda mumami.
Our interest remains the welfare of the people of Zambia. Bashmai, Abena Kopa, in broader terms, and Zambians as a whole. We first raised alarm on the irresponsible, cruel, and abusive behavior of the mine owner Betanta, way back. And we must emphasize that Betanta as a mine owner, was a shareholder together with the government under the supervision of PF. Zambians, Abena Kopala, Bashmaina, Muilava about that fact. That's a fact, because there's an assumption or a behavior by PF suggesting that Vedanta was operating on their own. No. Vale bombela chapamo. Vedanta na PF government. They were one team. They were sitting on the same boards. They were sitting in the same shareholders meetings. So they knew, the PF knew what was happening with KCM under Vedanta, because they're joint venture partners. So this cheating going on to pretend that all these problems from Vedanta have just come now and the PF didn't know. Wofi wo. Twaka na mkwa wofi. Wofi akachelo uvya kasuba ufine chungulo nkwai twaka na batu pe papafla. That is the position. Very, very, very important. When things at KCM reached unprecedented and West levels in terms of oppressing mine employees, mine suppliers, mine contractors, we offered what we thought was the best solution for all parties involved. And when we say all parties, we mean employees, we mean unions, we mean contractors, we mean suppliers, we mean investors, we mean the Zambian citizens who own the resources, who own the mineral resources given to us by Lesa, God, Mulungu. Ndiye anatipasa maminos yake. Tikasebenzese utikakale bwino. But this is not happening because of poor leadership of the PF. So, this would have avoided the costly litigation. But did they listen to us? As usual, no. The PF took what they thought was an easy route, typical street behavior that we see from PF. Very, very street behavior like. They don't want to think about problems. They don't want to consult. They don't want to get advice, free advice. We've never asked for money for the advice we give because of the love for our country. Twalitemu abantu besu. We love the people of Zambia. That's why we keep rendering advice. We don't care about how PF feels on the advice we render. The intention of that advice is to help the people of Zambia lead a better life. That's all. So, but we would like these measures to be taken now, reduce the price of melanin, declare hunger and disaster, because shame does not help reduce the problem. Just do what is right, do it. Number 3 for us, we want a final and long-lasting solution to this high cost of food, high cost of melanin. The UPND has the answer. The answer as UPND, as we are taking office very soon, 2021 is very soon, we will put in place measures to avoid the high cost of minimum, high cost of food, high cost of living, to avoid the shortages of food, shortages of minimum. One, by putting in place the right agricultural policies, which are anchored on A, lowering the cost of inputs, fertilizer, seed. We will reduce the cost of this by applying many measures. Amongst those measures is to cut corruption in the procurement of fertilizer and seed. For now, corruption of the PF constitutes to almost 40% of the high cost of fertilizer. Instead of buying spots, meaning buying at short notice, we will be buying forward. Buying forward, as our symbol says, forward, means we will be buying ahead of the seasons, well ahead of the seasons. And the benefit of doing that is that we can have discounts. Using our knowledge, using our experience of business, using our contacts in the global fertilizer market, we will be able to reduce further the cost of inputs. What else are we going to do as UPND? We will buy bulk. We will buy bulk, meaning larger quantities, again, further discounts. Number 4, what are we going to do? We will improve on the transportation arrangements. The fertilizer that is destined for Eastern Province will be brought in through the Nakala port. As it comes up north from Nakala port, all the requirements for Eastern Province will be dropped along the way there and not brought to Lusaka and then taken back to Undasi or Chipata. That's double transportation. We'll get rid of it. I'm saying so today, journalists, so the people of Zambia can hear our answers. Because many times the PF says, what is UPND going to do? This is what we're going to do to solve this problem permanently. We will not. We have no money. I'm going to tell you what all here. We will station pa bunga pa mtengo 145, 150. Because we lower the cost of production, we should be able to deliver minimum at 50 kwacha, 25 kg back. Absolutely, 50 kwacha, 55 kwacha.
President are bomba kubombeza sana ama ministers beso tukwete warungu upo ngome ama ministers tatuamini but next time tusamini mama sinema shire bomba bane ukwa kwechironga ino kusupporta abana be not imendera mamurede mweke mwete baprove na basari kutwara rinkono. Even the president himself he knows president tokata poro chimu abana bana mure pere mipano tabaye mjebo panga amatura ziyasale turika tinya mapanga to support they're free to war. We must respect us. That one commander is more pocket charge. Why can I state us no starting to what's the nacho? What's the total side church Gokuma 10 miles of Musanga on them without us and better sanga shake on them. What does even contact system? You will I don't know brand, what's your name? The president knows me. You also position where you come from. Then you are not there. It is a ponuk. So imu controlani no murendo. Mu controlani. Mufurika mwaziwa bantu banu na bana banu abasiwana. You must support us. 2026 invoka sangwa kufoka sangwa. Imawambi testimony wangu mwasabe mkuja kuikutano kubutuka. When it has lose power, I don't want that. Support the president. Support the president. Support the president. If you were to have a conka, tatua banayo. Toka tatua banayo, tauri muniz. Oh, think about that.
I requested, please, let me call my family member or my party officials to notify them that this is I'm on this journey. I was denied access. No, you will get it, At beginning, up to Luangwa, they were a bit friendly. From there, the tone changed. When I came here, first night, I was put in, second night, interrogation, and in the afternoon, they literally took me to C5 room at Central Police, beat me up like a criminal, put a shaft in between my legs, tied my hands with a seat belt. They beat me in such a way that right now my vision is blurring in and out. And they said, Katsuza Vomera, she's a Siranika Dionko Chabe. This is just a start. And for sure, they lived up to their words. At night, from there, they took me to Lilai police station, Lilai at division headquarters, Delta. I was there in the middle of the night. They came to pick me up with C5 officers. And then they took me in a bush. They covered my head with a hood. They put a gun to my head and told me that if you are not going to admit here, you are going to remain. No one will know you. Why are you still following this party? What is in for you? What are they doing for you? Can you admit? And now you find that they even fired a shot over my head. I was just praying there that God, you are there for me. I'm standing for the truth. I've not done anything wrong. What did I do wrong here that I'm being blamed for? Why is it that justice has to be double standard? Why is it that when a UPND member posts this on Facebook, which is a public media, he's never brought here. He was never tortured. He was never picked up from Petauke like a no ordinary criminal. And why is it that we have to be victimized just because we wear this? This is our belief. This is our party. We are from Eastern. We are proud of our party. Why is it that justice has to be two-standard? This is not right. Your Excellency, you promised rule of law. Tell your officers to practice the rule of law, or we will...
Thank you very much. To play those videos, to demonstrate that the litany of broken promises from all sectors of the economy, from all sectors of the governance of our country, that the president has literally broken nearly every promise. Someone will call and say, but he delivered on CDF, or he delivered on free education, or he delivered on employment. But I actually, when I was doing this research, I had over 30 videos of what the president promised and hasn't delivered. But for purposes of this program, I just got, I think, a summary of the events and also Twitters and Facebook postings that the president made to demonstrate that he will be a good candidate for a law we are talking about, the law to recall a leader who made promises or is failing to perform, especially on the issues that he demonstrated. Do you think that Zambia is a good candidate for such a law, especially for both our MPs, councillors, mayors, and up to the president, if you think that they are not performing? You've seen in the discussions, others have called for early elections. Now, early elections have to be provided for in the law. This is one of the mechanisms if you provide for, because there has to be justification why you have to call for early elections. Why? Zambians go to vote and they go to vote and they wait for 5 years. In their mind, they've done their part and they want leaders to do their part. But if you have election, if you have a law like this one, which has a power to recall a candidate, it shifts the responsibility from leaders to perform in a period of the term to the citizens' imagination whether a candidate has performed or not. It's no longer the propaganda by the candidate who now got elected and he claims that he has delivered. So the lines are now open. It's 0773-783-785. Let me have those calls. Let's hear your view. In the video, you saw the president clearly talked about electricity, meal, sugar, cooking oil, fuel coming down. On KCM, I had to get this video because he used very, very strong terms. He said Vedanta was irresponsible, were cruel, were abusive. Now, that's what we've been saying, that this investor is very bad for our country. But you heard the minister announce that government is at the verge. It was a matter of days before they announced that Vedanta was back at KCM. While in opposition, the president said Vedanta were an irresponsible, cruel and abusive investor. This is on the pile of failing to pay taxes, failing to pay utility bills, failing to pay contractors and suppliers, and just using very degrading methods for mining, that they degraded the assets. I've got the first call up. Let's hear what your view is about this law. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Good evening. Hello, this is Peter. You're within Lusaka.
Peter?
Within Lusaka.
Yes, Peter, make your contribution.
My contribution, Mr. Sam. One of the things that I've seen with your readers, you only care when you are requesting for the votes from the people. You are so humble when you are campaigning. But when you are being elected, you are working contrary to what you promised. All the leaders, you are all the same. This time around, you can blame the UPND government. But how it was when you are in the office? It was just the same. But what's the purpose of you people starting blaming one another than looking at the solution to that problem? It's not even helping. Pointing at one another, it won't even take us anywhere. But rather looking for the solution to those problems. Not what you are doing, starting blaming one another. Even the time you are in the office, people they are used to complain a lot. Remember, during your time, police officers were being beaten by the cadres. Did you take any action? The answer is definitely no. You didn't take any action.
So, Peter, I am proposing, as you've seen the topic today, the law to recall leaders. What is your view about it?
To recall what?
To recall leaders. If you think that they are the same, they are not performing, they are acting contrary to to what they pledged and promised, and they're repeating maybe the mistakes of the previous government.
On that one, definitely I can support it. Because I think maybe you readers are going to have that mind to say, oh, maybe if I don't work according to what I promised people vote me out before the end of the period that I'm supposed to rule. So on that one, definitely I support it. But the problem is that you readers, we are so humble when you're campaigning, but when we are being elected, I wonder why you are like this. I said it to understand you readers.
Thank you.
All the leaders, they are just the same. You are the same. This time around, you can talk of sweet things, but the time when you are in the office,
that's why we need to give you power. The power should be with you all the time, at election and after election, so that leaders remain loyal and humble to you, the citizens.
And even my brother, I'm telling you this time around, this is 2021, this is 2023. How many people voted this 2021 general election? And I'm telling you, you're going to find that come 2026, the voter party will be there because you people have disappointed people a lot.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much. I think Peter supports my assertions. He says leaders, whether the ones that were voted out or the current leaders, are humble. They bring themselves down to the people when they want a vote, and they tell a lot of good stories. But when they're elected, then their humility goes. Then they become proud, and then they become arrogant. And for me, that's why I'm proposing this law, as it occurs in some jurisdictions, that the power remains with the voter. If you see that the leader that was elected becomes arrogant, is not attending to you, you have a power of recall. You can sign a petition, 25% or 1/3 of the people that vote that they want a fresh election, and such a fresh election takes place. This makes leaders be humble before elections and even after elections and up to the next elections, because they know that the power to govern still remains with the people, and if the people are not satisfied, they can petition a recall. So you can call on 0773 783 785. Peter also talked about issues of governance, that we saw some people were being beaten under the UPND, and we are seeing the same matter occurring even now. So please call. What is your view about the law on recalling leaders? I like the video where the president was talking about fertilizer contracts, and he accused the PF. He said the price of fertilizer, 40% of that price, he said it was corruption. And do you know the price of fertilizer at the time? It was between $950 and $1,050 per ton. Fertilizer now, the standard price is in excess of $1,400 per ton. So, Mr. President, if 40% of such a price, which was at $950, was corruption, how do you justify the price of fertilizer, which is in excess of $1,400 per ton? We have a caller. Let's hear the caller. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Forget it.
Yeah, we lost the caller. Let me check this line also. It's like it's also buzzing. Sorry, you can call us on the number 0773 783 785. We are discussing a proposed law, which is a recall election, where you can recall leaders who you think are not performing. You don't have to wait for the next elections. You've heard people talk about early elections. This is one of the better democratic mechanisms in which you think you can have elections other than the scheduled period where you got people elected and they don't have to finish their term. And this law exists in many jurisdictions. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening. My name is Gautama Nyerere. I'm calling from Lusaka.
Yes, Mr. Nyerere Gautama.
Yes, really, I think any well-meaning Zambian has to support the rule of recall. If we need an example, I think the last two years have been a prime example of how a leader can make a litany of promises and decide to not fulfill a single one. Clearly, there's an impression, like as Peter said previously, there seems to be an impression that once you get into leadership, you don't owe anyone anything. And if there's ever been a time in Zambia's history where we've had a leader on top who gives the impression that they feel that they don't owe the electorate anything, I think it's been demonstrated by the current leadership today. Not only the president, but just his ministers. I was saddened, being someone who, at some stage in my life, sold Salaula, sold Nshima to get my first LCCI marketing diploma. I have an affinity for vendors because I am what I am in part because of the revenue that I raised in the markets to be able to do that, and to see the way they were being treated like that after those promises that the president made, it saddened me. And it just tells me that, as you've correctly put up the topic of this debate, I think let's return and enforce the power back to the people of Zambia. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Nyerere is very clear. He says, especially the new government, they came on a litany of promises and they don't even bother to apologize for the mistakes. They don't even apologize. They pretend that you didn't listen or hear those promises, and they will not even refer. In fact, if you remind them, they even get annoyed. And he says this impression is just from the president to all, including his ministers, and he has cited the issue of street vendors. He says they were not treated well. I think on this program we are very clear that the traders, the street vendors, should be regarded as business people. And they deserved adequate notice. They deserved a good warning. They deserved to be allocated stores in advance. I think there should have been a proper audit and the reconciliation of the people on the street and the available market stores. In fact, there's a video, I just have to look for it, where the council was proposing an alley at Soweto, and they began to speak with the vendors because City Market is full, and they began to speak with the vendors, but the UPND took over and there was a fight, and the vendors even bent the Land Cruiser for the let me take this call as we look for that video. Good evening, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Mr. Mwamba.
Good evening.
This is Chama.
Mr. Chama, good evening. Where are you calling from?
I'm from within Lusaka.
From Lusaka. Mr. Chama,
yes,
we are
sir.
discussing the law, the proposed law I'm proposing on the power to recall candidates, public officials that have been elected, and you don't have to wait for a full term. In other jurisdictions, it's 3 months or 6 months, and citizens then can initiate the power to recall such a leader.
Yeah, I think after you have explained, I think I had the wrong perception. What I thought, because prior to you start taking calls, you're playing like clips of the president making a number of promises. Am I right?
Yes, I was using him as an example.
As an example, yes.
Yeah.
And I want to use him as an example as well.
Yeah.
Now, since you have brought in the issue of even before the term, you want to recall, I think it will be inconsistent because you elect somebody for a period of 5 years in our case. So which means it said the president says, because all the clips which have been used, not just on your platform, but on several platforms, I don't see where the president is tying the promise to a specific time. So my assumption was that the president was aware that when he's aspiring for presidency, he's aspiring for a period of 5 years. So he's been in office for 1 year, 9 months. And we've heard this narrative that he's made fake promises. He hasn't reduced the feeding meal. He hasn't reduced fertilizer. A person has got 2 years, 3 years, 2 months more. Yet you want us to say he has failed. That's why I'm saying it will be consistent to recall somebody in the middle once on the ballot when we are giving him a chance to lead. We are giving him 5 years. So on what basis are we going to call him in 1 year that you have failed? Yet we have given him huge mandate of 5 years. So that proposal of yours, I find it to be inconsistent myself. Are you getting me, Mr. Mwamba?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I don't know if you see sense in what I'm trying to say. Unless we say, I don't know. For me, it doesn't, because as long as there is a term, you leave the person to work within that term. And I'm sure you have been a public officer before. Public policy is not like a switching on and off. If I take the president's message on milling meal to 50 quarter at one point, and this has been quoted by Lusaka Times in 2017, where he said, we shall ensure that our policies make that a bag of milling meal costs around 50 quarter. So which means there is something which should be put in motion in the 5 years, which will give birth to that particular promise. So I find it very difficult when people say he has failed, he made this promise, he made this promise, he made the quarter to, I don't know, but that's my contribution, Mr. Mwamba.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chama from Lusaka says the president has been in office only 1 year, 9 months. He's been in office 1 year, 11 months. Next month, he'll be clocking 2 years. And that's why we have to begin to do this review. And Chama probably didn't, I was not there when I made my introductory remarks. The purpose of a recall election, the purpose of the recall election law is that you, in your estimation, have to cut short the term for the candidate that you elected, either as MP, mayor, governor, whatever term, or president. Because you think that by a period in which they were elected and now they are going towards their full term, you think that they will not fulfill the election mandate, and citizens then have the power to recall. That's the purpose of the recall election law, is that you look at a candidate. In fact, many of the laws I looked at today give a candidate 90 days or 6 months. You are not performing, you are recalled. Citizens can hold a petition and there is a referendum. Good evening, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Mute your device,
Good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening. Please mute your device.
Yes, it's mute.
Because we can hear the echo. Okay, please proceed.
Okay, this is Green Teleka. This is Green Teleka calling you from within Lusaka.
Glenn Mucheleka.
Green Teleka. Teleka from Lusaka.
Okay, yes, my brother. Please make your contribution.
Yes, sir. Looking on the topic, they have just found it in the middle right now. It's interesting, sir, to see that proposal coming. But the problem that I've just seen, I want to be very honest with, especially you, our leaders.
Yeah.
When you are out of the power, this is what comes. You bring good proposals, but the same proposal, if it was to come when you are in power, that proposal again, it's not going to be supported. And this is why, as a country, we don't move forward. Because mostly leaders focus on something that will benefit them. If it's not benefiting them, it's always being to politics. But if this was supported, like even before the time PF was there and this was supported, it's going to be better. I love the way you come out, Ambassador Emmanuel. But most of the things, please, sir, try to balance, because you are the hope of a lot of people, not that President Church is bad, but we are looking to you as a leader. So when you are bringing these proposals, try to sound neutral enough so that even us we learn, because we are a lot of people who follow you and want to learn from you. So that proposal, I think, it's like the caller who called first. I think it's good, but on what basis? Again, we cannot just cut, because we have to start from the constitution, which we as Zambians are mandated to follow. So I suggest that I contribute rather to say some proposals like those. It can be good if it is given the highlight of it, from which basis, and it not to sound political. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Yes, you can call us on 0773 783 785 and on WhatsApp. There's something that my brother Chama said, that in his videos he doesn't understand because the president didn't put limits. No. The president put limits and timelines. There are videos, especially the one on foreign exchange, where he said, I'll be elected and sworn in at 12 hours, at 14 hours, the kwacha will improve. There are videos like that. Even on fuel, he said there were immediate benefits, immediate mechanisms he would put up. Good evening, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Hello?
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Man.
Yes, tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
I'm calling from Mongo.
From Mongo. Your name, sir?
I'm Granger Waria. I'm Granger Waria.
Okay, Mr. Waria, make your contributions.
Yes, I'm just contributing. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yes, I'm contributing of what is this health campaign promises and the need for recall election. Yes, the thing is, the promises, I believe there are budgets that are made to make those promises in the fulfillment of the needy. Yes. So, and the lying is also an offense. According to the timeline, everything that is given to them. But what I'm saying is, if there could be an amendment against what they lie. Yes. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wadia from Mongo says we have to reconcile budget stake. I think there'll be budget cycle minimum of 1 year. But also he says we politicians lie, we lie our way into office. So maybe we can catalog the lies, make them an offense, and then propose a recall to that election. So call us on 0773 783 785. So I was saying, Mr. Chama, the president in many cases put timelines. And that's why I said, for example, Mr. Sata was very clear. Michael Sata said within 90 days, I will do the following. And you saw as soon as he came, he gave civil servants a salary increment of over 250%, because he had promised and he said it to be done within 90 days, and he did it within 90 days. So we like, as politicians, coming to our electorate and said within 30 days, within 24 hours, within 90 days, within 100 days. In fact, that's a standard measure across the world for politicians to see if they are performing. In fact, when you do your 90 days or your 100 days, you do a review to demonstrate to your electorate that I'm on my way to achieving what I pledged. Now, I've used President Hakainde Hichilema as a prime example, because you saw him with those to Pamela. He said these Pamelas will not exist, although the Pamelas have been there since Kaunda's days. But he said the Pamelas will not exist. You cannot have a Pamela. Now, the Pamelas are far thinner and more expensive. Look at his promises on the price of mealie meal, price of sugar, price of cooking oil. Look at his calculations on fuel. Where has the calculator? You saw my dear brother even take a calculator to State House. Sean Tembo said, Mr. President, you would use your calculator at your press conferences to demonstrate how you reduce the price of essential foodstuffs. And maybe your calculator is lost. So Sean Tembo used a symbolic action, bought a calculator and took it to State House. This is to the extent to demonstrate that there are many things the president, he promised cheaper fertilizer. He says there was a 40% loaded on the price of fertilizer, which was going to corruption. He found fertilizer between $950 and $1,000 a ton. It's now minimum $1,400. People would say, no, but Ukraine, Russia war has affected the price of fertilizer. No, we don't buy it. Voters wake up at 03 because of what we say as politicians. They go at 04 because of what we say. If what we promise is in vain, our voters will not wake up early in the morning. In fact, there's one caller who has said he fears that there could be voter apathy because when politicians lie their way into office, it reduces confidence of our voters. They will say, nangu tuchinja abantu wamobene. Hence the law I'm proposing, so that the power remains with our people. Instead of calling for early elections are unconstitutional to extent because the Constitution has provided for an election period. And unless you have a moral standing of Dr. Kaunda, who cut short his term, he was just elected in 1988, and 89 ZCTU went to Congress and called. They were the first group to call for multi-party elections. Just 1 year after Dr. Kaunda had been elected, with an overwhelming 90% voter turnout and voter mandate, 90%. A year later, the workers were calling for a multi-party election and for the president to cut short his term. So unless you have a moral stature of Dr. Kaunda, no leader will submit himself to an early election. But when you have this provision in the law, where it is in the law that according to your assessment, within 3 months to 6 months, you can assess that UMP twasadile. Totally serious. He doesn't come, he doesn't report to us, he doesn't give us update, he disappears, he has settled in Lusaka, yet we elected for him. So let's go to petition amongst ourselves and call for an early election against such an MP or a mayor. You think that the mayor has gone hiding again, or a council has gone hiding after elections, or they're just doing their own things. The power remains with citizens to recall. And I gave an example of various countries, including Colombia, Japan, Ecuador, that can recall a president. There can be a petition countrywide, and if people think that a president should not finish his term, a fresh election can be held. And I found this fascinating because it shifts power from the politicians who think that they have a 5-year mandate to the voters. So the policy monitoring and evaluation remains with our citizens. If in their own estimation and measure, they think that you're not performing, they can recall you. If they think that you told them tall stories, they can recall you. If they think that looking at a period you have served, they don't think that they have to wait for the entire 5 years, they can recall you. That's the purpose of that law. Do you think that law can exist in Zambia? In my reference, I was looking at issues that would prevent such a law, usually to be the issue of cost. Remember, Zambians have been speaking against even by-elections because they don't want by-elections to be there. In fact, the reason we have a vice president who's elected alongside with the president is we didn't even want a presidential by-election to take place like it is in Tanzania. If the position of the president becomes vacant in any way, the vice president takes over. So, but here are the opportunities, is that the power to recall remains with the citizens. And leaders, I think, can remain with their humility. They can remain with let's play 2 videos. Just the one the president is talking about Vedanta at the press conference, and the one for Rizwan. Patel on good governance. We'll play those two videos. As you tell me when we are ready.
Bashmai, Abena Kopa, in broader terms, and Zambians as a whole. We first raised alarm on the irresponsible, cruel, and abusive behavior of the mine owner Betanta. Way back, and we must emphasize that Betanta as a mine owner, was a shareholder together with the government under the supervision of PF. Zambians, Abena Kopala, Bashmai, we lava about that fact. That's a fact, because there's an assumption or a behavior by PF suggesting that Vedanta was operating on their own. No. Vale bombela chapamo. Vedanta na PF government. They were one team. They were sitting on the same boards. They were sitting in the same shareholders meetings. So they knew, the PF knew what was happening with KCM under Vedanta, because they're joint venture partners. So this cheating going on to pretend that all these problems from Vedanta have just come now and the PF didn't know. Wofi wo. Tuaka namkwa wofi. Wofi akachelo, wofi akasuba, wofi ne chunglo. Mkwai tuaka na watu pe papafla. That is the position. Very, very, very important. When things at KCM reached unprecedented and West levels in terms of oppressing mine employees, mine suppliers, mine contractors, we offered what we thought was the best solution for all parties involved. And when we say all parties, we mean employees, we mean unions, we mean contractors, we mean suppliers, we mean investors, we mean the Zambian citizens who own the resources, who own the mineral resources given to us by lesser God. Mulungu. Ndiye anatipasa maminos yake. Tikasebenzese utikakale bwino. But this is not happening because of poor leadership of the PF. So this would have avoided the costly litigation. But did they listen to us? As usual, no. The PF took what they thought was an easy route, typical street behavior that we see from PF. Very, very street behavior like. They don't want to think about problems. They don't want to consult. They don't want to get advice, free advice. We've never asked for money for the advice we give because of the love for our country. So
I requested, please, let me call my family member or my party officials to notify them that this is I'm on this journey. I was denied access. No, you will get it, you get it. At beginning, up to Luangwa, they were a bit friendly. From there, the tone changed. When I came here, first night, I was put in, second night, interrogation, and in the afternoon, they literally took me to C5 room at Central Police, beat me up like a criminal, put a shaft in between my legs, tied my hands with a seat belt. They beat me in such a way that right now my vision is blurring in and out. And they said, Katsuza Vomera, this is just a start. And for sure, they lived up to their words. At night, from there, they took me to Lilai police station, Lilai at division headquarters, Delta. I was there in the middle of the night. They came to pick me up with C5 officers. And then they took me in a bush. They covered my head with a hood. They put a gun to my head and told me that if you are not going to admit here, you are going to remain. No one will know you. Why are you still following this party? What is in for you? What are they doing for you? Can you admit? And now you find that they even fired a shot over my head. I was just praying there that God, you are there for me. I'm standing for the truth. I've not done anything wrong. What did I do wrong here that I'm being blamed for? Why is it that justice has to be double standard? Why is it that when a UPND member posts this on Facebook, which is a public media, he's never brought here. He was never tortured. He was never picked up from Petauke like no ordinary criminal. And why is it that we have to be victimized just because we wear this? This is our belief. This is our party. We are from Eastern. We are proud of our party. Why is it that justice has to be two-standard? This is not right. Your Excellency, you promised rule of law. Tell your officers.
Thank you very much. I keep on playing those videos just to alert you. You can call us on 0773 783 785. We are discussing the power of recall, that it should be with citizens, where citizens can just assess a government within 6 months and decide to have fresh elections. They also can assess individual candidates. If your MP has gone to war, powers can be given for you to have a fresh election in your area. You don't have to suffer for the next 5 years. If you have to learn that back up on 2026, sometimes it's too far. The damage will be extensive. I'm interested on the issue of Vedanta. The president called them irresponsible, cruel, abusive, and he says they had been colluding with the PF government. He said they were corrupt. But this is the same investor. Government has announced that they're giving back Vedanta. What has changed? And the audacity of not even apologizing for the words that were used, the promises that were given, the broken promises, now they are a litany. Currently, there is a voter registration going on, a massive voter registration going on very quietly. Where is transparency? We said every time there is voter registration, under the continuous voter continuous voter registration law. We said every time that is taking place, when NRCs are being issued and when voters are being registered, there should be massive awareness by ECZ. Do you see any adverts running in the areas where government is registering voters? Why are we allowing this lack of transparency? Maybe you can blame the opposition that they haven't been very alert like UPND was, where they would even go to an extent of disrupting such a process. So please call us. I've seen I've missed some calls here. Call us on 0773 783 785. Yeah, okay, now the calls are coming in. Good evening, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from. Vani mkwai?
Augustine Kulwapura.
Augustine Kulwapura. Yamalandeni po?
Awe kwena honorable ndefo ya kuranda ko pali iyo mwachilala ndapo ya kwe bati tatufure to alolela until 2026. Nomba kaidi ama MPs vesu evo vale ikata pamonga mwentunguru shinimo vale ikata nomba kaidi iyo funde kuchidi application mu parliament. Kozi lero nachila tamba okwama MPs bachifumamu ama MPs besu bachifumamu mu parliament mulando wachifukushi ukoko bachila chita kwachiba motion ya minister of religious.
Yes.
Balefo kwachiba motion ya kwe bati bushe baibweshe all beibwesha.
Yes.
Mamona.
Yes.
Then ama members by UPND, member of parliament by UPND tabale ifwaya. Mamona. And then ama member of parliament by PF bale ifwaya pamo na bandi abashira ama members ba PF. So uko kwachiba kukansana kwachilobudi. Mamona. Ero nombanga mwalole kesha takwa abo butungurushi ubo tabufwa ikwale. So butungurushi bonse burafa ikwale. Nombanga chakwe bati bafumya po yo ministry ngeso bayifumya po nabayikanyo kwe bati beyibwekesha po ninshino kwisoko tulerora mwana ninshi mutsaro cheso takuri uyandanshi.
Yes.
Ninshitore ninshitore tekwa ninshina devo kazi mama. And then futi kolosho kulanda popali kesi munachira tamba kunyuzi the same mama abantu balebo kwe bati abalebo mbana ba PF bale shibeso badanshe nyina ba PF tabalebo mbabwe mwali bufufu ntungu nomba bena afterwards the same abantu bamube nabalebo mbana ba PF bali foko sinshi so baliranda mamona. So awe ichende rombako chakwe bati nde rombako pamo na abantu aba mu PF babe abakwikatana bamona mu ntunguru shisora ati iki kintu tube abakurwira cyapa mpako tinga monoko tinga otherwise you can kafiri wino mwandi.
Thank you. Yeah, my brother Augustine from Rapula has brought a very fundamental issue. You know, we've decried this matter where our members of parliament are not being treated well. There's literally dictatorship in parliament, and they even reported the abductions that occurred to Robert Kaila Kalimi, MP for Malole, and to Christopher Shaka Fuswa, where the MPs are just coming from parliament and they're ambushed by the police without call out, without anything, and they're treated like common criminals and locked up. Recently, we've seen the locking up of Honorable Given Katuta, Chiengi, member of parliament, and I agree with you, Augustine. We have Honorable Nixon Chilangwa. Today he wrote an open letter to the president saying, Mr. President, don't exercise vengeance. It should not be within you as president. Lead this country. This country is yearning for leadership. And then I saw Honorable Emmanuel Banda promote the motion on the return of religious affairs ministry. And he cited especially the degenerating conduct that has emerged, especially for our young people, where they are abusing substances, they are abusing alcohol. And in the face of the law, this government appears to be permissive of especially homosexuality, where there's been misconduct. You've seen it's just now open, and JJ Banda gave various examples, and he says this is alarming to the nation. So, Mkwaiba August, and I agree with your call that as leaders of the opposition, we should work together. I agree with you. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening.
Julius Becker, Lusaka.
Yes, Julius from Lusaka. Make your contributions.
Now, you much than that recall you. Not to close 2026. Awe ilifia wino yokwena kutia wa makushika kulolera 2026 na ifintu tafiri wino background titulishita unga 250 no time ya kukolola mirisi nishita pale fio wale kwafa so yoliko kutia wa fio wino na chimbi ambasada but tairi pa topic hapo hello na imbi zetu ndio kulanda.
Yes.
But tairi pa topic hapo.
Iyo London yama.
Ni problem ya wakanso kwa tife kulipa town center pale. After wakula yali ama shop tukwe tunaona kwa town center.
Yes.
Tulalipira pa ku council 290 per month. So hapa uwafe ulipo wakanso atina kwa tengo ngole kuli ukuzesko. Wati 2 years wanalipire. So but kuli fe omine kisengira pa jama shop timalipira pe mancha na tukalipira
power
balipira kuze so ati na kwa tango ngolo so wanabwera meeting pa town center yokamba titafakira kondrama tumuzilipira 60 kwata pe month ya malaiti so yo meeting inakanga wakansela wenza nabwera na marketing master tinakana kwa ingati mfakira kondrama mfikire mafaka ndrama pamozi naija ya payments 290 nkale city mozi so ijaoni ke sienze program ya kanso ndaba jana mapita mu kusonkesa ndrama za payments wajana kamba ti rate FST ziba so meeting inabwera kanga kamba tawe content bwere ku offices zipi zakabwera 40 so kubwera 40 kwao wanabwera chena letter cheyo sign kudala kamba tawe funika mzilipira skiste kwa separate but kukanso vonse ndama ya mabini ndama ya malaiti vili pamozi mutuna inte mwamene moja so manje stizo tika ya kanso yongani waiziva kaunga itebwa nchinzo ya mga kufuzile kobwani
manje palibe account wafuna niwandani muzambo wapasa chabe kumanja muzambo chita deposit mu account ya wakanso
panakamba tiri zambo wapasa kumanja zeni wakawabwera paneva tibatilipira ja 290 babwero tenga na ija skiste kwache
okay
but yone kangani plan che ya makadazi che vaneva pamenetiri now
that's
why no kamba
okay Yeah, the challenge is to the Lusaka City Council. I think they have a lot of problems. Cadres have invaded markets and bus stops, and this is what we keep on talking about. The narrative from the leadership is that there are no cadres in markets and bus stops. But as you can hear from here, where even at town center, there's a fake charge of 60 kwacha that they want to levy on the understanding that this will be going to electricity when the when the marketeers and the traders demanded for more proof. A fake letter are demerged, and I'll speak to the mayor on this matter, and I'll find out if it is true. So Julius from Lusaka, I'll find out this matter. But like you are saying, when it smells, it stinks. It is what it is, and this is likely just a gimmick from party cadres. The UPND keep on saying, no, these are PF cadres. They've just changed uniform. Stop it. Stop it. Whether it's PF or UPND cadres, stop this issue, because you've said you've ended cadreism. And this is the reason for the law on power of recall, that the power of recall must be with citizens, where they think that candidates that they elected have become different. They are not delivering on the goods and services that they said they would deliver. They are not delivering on the mandate that they've been given. And you don't have to wait 5 years. You can have power to recall the persons that have been recalled. I have used the example of the president who made sweeping statements on that he would reduce the price of foodstuffs on milling meal, he would reduce electricity, he would reduce the price of fertilizer, of sugar, of cooking oil, that it would reduce the cost of living. And that was the purpose we were playing those videos, that you employ up to 1 million people, and that will improve human rights and good governance. You've seen how parliament has degenerated, dictatorship is reigning, our opposition MPs keep on protesting and no one is listening to them. They're just being deemed like they're irresponsible, yet there's a matter there. The manner in which they are arrested, Munia Zulu was followed, just from parliament, tracked and picked up like a common criminal. That's a Lumezi independent MP. Robert Kaela Kalimi from Kasama, from Mungwi in Malole. Similar circumstances, Christopher Shakafuswa from Mandevu, again, attended to in a similar manner. I don't give myself as an example, but I would give an example of Rizwan Patel and others that have been tortured. You heard about a police officer that killed in Masaiti. They killed a grade 9 student who was in detention. How does a police officer get an AK-47 and go and shoot on the allegation that the person wanted to run? We heard in Kalundu where a police officer raped 2 male detainees, and the young man is still on the run, and nothing is done. There are all these issues that are not being attended to. You heard about a young man, a child, 8-year-old child from Matero, who was detained for 2 days. Now, those things should not occur. The president promised a better good governance and a respect for human rights. You are aware of the US report that I keep on citing, the one on human rights, and it's a very bad report. Instead of government taking responsibility and said we'll amend, we'll change, and we'll punish whoever is behind it. In fact, they've been dismissing such a credible report. There's even another one, from Amnesty International, cataloging the same rights abuse in 2022. And in 2023 again, we've seen same activities repeated, and our people are crying every day, and the UPND will defend itself that they are on track, they were elected, they are different from the PF, they will deliver on good mandates. So call us on 0773 783 785. Call us on 0773 783 785. 0773 783 785 is the number to call us. I don't know what's happening to the WhatsApp. It keep on cutting, but you can reach us even on WhatsApp, especially for the diaspora community. They've been very helpful in making those contributions. I'm passionate about issues of good governance. In 2023, former Lusaka City Market manager Mwenya Matafwali was brutally beaten on 3rd May 2023. This was when the police stormed the residence of former President Edgar Lungu. They claimed they were looking for the former First Lady. You remember they even went with a grinder and with heavy machinery. And there's a picture of Mwenya Matafwali being beaten by the police because, you know, he was complaining about the use of the grinder, so they descended on him, and you've seen that picture. When you post that picture on Facebook, people say it's an odd picture. No, it's not an odd picture. My case on 14th July 2023, where I was brutalized, Rizwel Patel, you heard the testimonies on video there, how he was severely tortured. We have given Piri, who's a co-accused to former State House political advisor Chris Zuman Piri. He was severely tortured and, you know, put on Kampelwa. And no one has been arrested. No police officer has been suspended for these crimes. Shabi Chilekwa, murder accused. Again, he was severely tortured and whipped and put on Kampelwa. Nothing has been done. The young man, Nathaniel Shamabulo, 8-year-old, who was illegally detained at Matero police station. The IG promised that they are looking into this matter and they've called for a report. The matter has gone quiet. A young man, Njovu, who was killed in Chilenje for, you know, by a gay gang, very well-known gay gang, and he reported the matter, and even on the deathbed, he named them by name. The police to date, we don't know what has happened to that case. Where are those murder accused who put his house on, you know, the benches, and the young man died a day later at the University Teaching Hospital? Where is that matter? A grade 9 pupil, Ronald Shimba, was shot dead in police cell in Masaiti on July 11th, 2023. Ronald Shimba was shot dead by a police officer in Masaiti. Where is the action against this police? Has he been arrested? Is he appearing in court? Constable Moses Muntanga from Kalundu police station, he sodomized and raped 2 male suspects. The matter is dying quietly. Kennedy Chibuye, 37, of Kafulafuta police camp, was identified as the police officer who shot Ronald Shimba with an AK-47 for someone who was in detention. These are serious matters. They shouldn't be occurring in a government that claims that it's fighting, enhancing human rights. Yesterday, I had an opportunity to listen to the conversation between Honorable Makebi Zulu and Honorable Mulambo Haimbe, the Minister of Justice. And the Minister of Justice was extremely defensive on the happenings where citizens and Honorable Makebi Zulu raised alarm. Judicial interference by the president. Those are serious matters. Human rights abuse like the ones I've just read. Those are serious matters. And the space in which we should be discussing this is on the power of RICO, where citizens can feel that, tuamipele 5 years, but imowa MP mwaliluba, imowa councillor mwaliluba, imowa president mwaliluba. I think we need to have a fresh election. That's the purpose of the power of RICO. It makes leaders be on the toils. They will not be arrogant. They will remain humble. Servant leadership will be true. So 0773 783 785. Let's play the video where the president is talking about how he will reduce the price of mealie meal the short video, just to remind ourselves with the topic that we are discussing today.
We have no money. I'm on to what all here. We were station pa bunga pamtengo 145, 150. Because we lower the cost of production, we should be able to deliver millimeter 50 kwacha, 25 kg bag. Absolutely, 50 kwacha, 55 kwacha.
783-785. As we are waiting for the call, you can play the next one, the one where the president was addressing a press conference and how he would not remove street vendors. He was bemoaning that they needed to be compensated. He was bemoaning that you shouldn't destroy their merchandise and their tables. You can play that video.
We love the people of Zambia. That's why we keep rendering advice. We don't care about how PF feels on the advice we render. The intention of that advice is to help the people of Zambia lead a better life. That's all. A better. So, but we would like these measures to be taken now, reduce the price of melon, declare hunger and disaster, because shame does not help reduce the problem. Just do what is right, do it. Number 3 for us, we want a final and long-lasting solution to this high cost of food, high cost of milk. The UPND has the answer. The answer as UPND, as we are taking office.
Okay, we have a call. Good evening, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Yes, Augustine.
Now, we know your video, more place up. Number first in the folks to congratulate honorable Aboma Nilusambo, could news in a natural amfa. Kokoti Korea, it is our party, Maniko. And then for the number, abantu abachira ba kulika video kumachira place up. Barando kwe wati abantu wa Mzambia tabako atenda rama kwe wati wangala kwa nisho kula shitobu nga pari 100. Nomba question yanjiri ya kwe wati dero na bakwata olupero kula shitobu nga pari 300. So ngachako wati tabako etolupya lero nchi na bakwata bantu bungana buya pamoto. So meaning ubufina bufurisha sana mu buteko buburekeka. Nomba tubombeshe n'amaka fwe misepera twikachanye pamona mumwe marida so that tubomfe neruyo murera ndapo natotera mukaya.
Thank you very much, Augustine, to make a return call. To cut the video when I saw his course, what I could hear what he wants to say. Yes, things are far worse than they were as August 2021. You are aware that everything else is far worse than they were. So you can imagine when the president was speaking like that, things were actually even better than they are today. And he says they couldn't afford milimi 130 kwacha. So what about now when it's 300 kwacha, 350? It's ranging, depending on where you are, from 250 up to 350 kwacha. And this is a time when we've just finished the harvest. How will it be by September, October? How will it be by November? What will be the price of milling meal? What's government's intervention to this? Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Good evening, Mr. President. This is Gautama Nyerere again.
Yes, Mr. Nyerere.
Yes, thank you for that clip. It has brought back an observation that I was making with myself during the day. You know, we always emphasize, even the president there was emphasizing on the reduction of the price of minimum 25 kg bag at 50, 55 kwacha. And when we emphasize that, and I think the way he was emphasizing it is the assumption that a bag of millimil that is worth 55 kwacha will last for the whole month. That's not usually the case. You know, you will find in a family of 4, in a family of 3, 4, 5, they'll probably go through 2 or 3 bags of minimum within the course of the month. Now, given the current scenario, if as he was pointing out, the president was pointing out that then a 130 or 170 kwacha bag of minimum, people were failing to cope with that. In a scenario where a bag of minimum is 250 and 300 kwacha, and you have to buy 2-3 months, and you have a salary of 1,500 kwacha, how are you going to cope? The topic that you brought here gives the citizen or the voter, like you said, it hands back power into the voter, because it then makes the candidate more accountable. You know, I don't believe in a situation where you're aware that there can be a recall at any time. You'd ever allow a situation where a person potentially would be paying 900 kwacha just for 3 bags of minimum in a month. If there's a recall, if the power is in the people's hands, and there was that fear of the people taking a stand, that would never happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, so the law on power of recall is very good. It's a good law. You can, as citizen, then recall the candidates that you elected. Any public official, it could be mayor, it could be councillor, it could be MP, it could be the president. If you think that such a candidate has departed from the mandate you gave them. Good evening, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Yes, good evening. You are speaking to Emmanuel, calling you from Northwestern.
Emmanuel calling from where?
Northwestern.
Northwestern. Yes, my brother. You are following the topic?
Yes, I'm following the topic, and I'm glad that I've been part and parcel of this following.
Yeah.
Now, my concern, I think, basically, I want to talk about the main issue on the clip that you shared earlier. Yes, looking at what the current president said in opposition and what is happening being the opposite. Yeah, if you happen to come in power, what are some of the measures that are going to put in place that you never did during your previous times in power? Because we are seeing that in most cases, politicians promise things that don't really come to pass. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. I think Mashina from Northwestern Province has challenged, put a proper a challenge. Oh, we have a call. Let me take this call. Someone has called on this line. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Hello, good evening. My name is Charlie.
Yes, Mr. Charlie.
I'm calling from... yes, good evening, my ambassador.
Good evening, Charlie. Where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from North America.
Okay, yes, my brother.
Just a quick contribution. I think the way the country is being run by the New Dawn government, Nakwatama issues which were opposition, especially by Patriotic Front, about Kwetama numbers in parliament that they need to address, to stand up and address this kind of confusion going on right now. But Patriotic Front leadership, or the guys who are in parliament, those guys, they seem to have a soft heart. They should look at Julius Malema in South Africa. You know, you need to stand up to to the speaker like Mamuti. She cannot be controlling the way she controls the PF members of parliament like that. Like, I've warned you, sit down. You can't do that, sit down. I mean, that does not make sense. Patriotic Front members, they have to learn from Patriotic Front leaders, and those guys should be able to stand up. Like Julius Malema. If they need lessons, go to Julius Malema and learn from there. He's not breaking the law. What he's doing is just to stand up and say, do the right thing. If the right thing is not being done, people should, the members of parliament must be able to stand up and talk. Not after they've been mistreated in parliament, then they go and hold a meeting. Someone, they begin to complain from somewhere there. No, it doesn't make sense. they need to stand up in parliament there and talk on behalf of Zambian people. Because right now, as we speak, the new Don government, they'll do whatever they want. I was listening to Bakebi, the lawyer yesterday with this justice minister yesterday.
Yes,
the justice minister was protecting things. He was just defending things that does not even make sense. The evidence is on the table, but the man was busy protecting those things. You know, those are the things that the Patriotic Front and other members of the opposition, they must come together as a team and fight for the Zambian people. Otherwise, people are sleeping hungry. People are not eating 300 to kachu bunga. Even as who are here, nangwatumaga 300 to fiashi. Can't know what bunga. You know, it's very small.
Yeah.
Today, should people because of that of mismanagement. Yeah, what's going on? And quickly, just come into the aid of the minds. Vindata, we've been praying. I'm a videos. Yaba HH when in opposition. That is that's pure unfaithfulness. You cannot tell a banter to say Vindata they're not good people, and when we come and make sure they leave. But in the meantime, around when you're in government, you are the same guys who are embracing and you're eating together with them on the level. I mean, we don't do things like that. So this calling of early elections, if there's unfaithfulness like what happened in the area of UPND, we must do that. Let's go for early elections. HH called for early elections when he was in opposition. He gave an example of KK. Why can't we do the same thing? What has changed? Nothing has changed.
Thank you.
Nothing has changed. The same HH say we can go for fresh election. I think there's a video. If you look for that video is there. It was the HH who said that. So even this time we can still call for an early election. But PF come together and fight. Don't be like just people just seated like you're just enjoying yourself. Go to Judas Malem and learn from him if you cannot fight. Have a good evening, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Mwamba Mwachoma Bwanji.
Tachoma Mribwanji.
Tribuno, niwa Mkosa.
Mr. Mkosa, where are you calling from, sir?
I'm calling you from Lusaka, within Lusaka.
Oh, Mr. Mkosa, I think I remember you.
Yeah. I want to talk about the promises that you have been talking about. Although I was not following you now, na chepa my headline.
Yes.
Yeah, comrade, you need to understand that. But first of all, I do understand because you are PF. You don't know how this country was damaged by the party that you support. Yes, I can agree with you to say there were a lot of promises that were made. But those promises cannot be fulfilled within 2 years. Even in the development that you have been saying, PF, that you did some roads, you did some schools, you did some what? You didn't do those projects in 2 years. So sometimes I feel like you people, when you are doing this, you are just politicking. Have you seen that the new government, all the policies that they've come up with, there's no hiccups. All the policies that they have managed to implement so far, like free education, there's no hiccups. Those who are employed, people said no, the government will be bankrupt. They are getting paid every month. So, really, I think you are just too quick. Development, like the way we understand how this country was damaged by the party that you want to be the president. I think we need more time. And these people, they are working tirelessly, according to me. When you talk about the cost of living, like millennium, your party destroyed the agriculture kumkani ya ulimi ya milisi. Munapakira nzeru kugula mitengo ya bwino vintu vamene sivili ma staple foods muno muziko. Mwezo kula soya beans 500. Milisi mubwero kula 150. What did you do by doing that? you discourage the farmers to grow maize. They went for soybeans. As a result, as a country, because maize is our staple food. Tunapezeka manje yazanda kwa pezeka pakudya vayambo chepa. As a result, tambo pezeka manje unga yambo dula. But have we seen what this government have done? They've touched everything around.
Mr.
Now
Mkosa,
farmers will be encouraged to grow maize.
Yeah, Mr. Mkosa.
Yes.
Mr. Mkosa from the political party where you are, I think, Secretary General.
Where?
No, I just wanted to identify you properly. Because you are a colleague like me.
No, me, I'm Mkosa. A Zambian citizen.
Zambian citizen?
Yes. Who always want his country to be a better place for all.
Ah, okay. Okay, sorry, I mistook you for Mr. Mkosa, I think, who comes from a political party. I just wanted that to be clear.
Yeah. So now, have we seen what is, let me continue, I want to conclude.
Yeah, please conclude.
Have we seen how this government have turned everything around? Now, because this government is buying maize at a high cost, and these other crops at a low cost, farmers will be encouraged to go into maize farming. At the end of the day, me and you, we understand the law of supply and demand. The law of supply and demand, it will lower the cost of commodity minimum. All what we are going to benefit much as a country is the export that will be making kugulisa kuvyarovina, because our farmers, us farmers, will grow a lot. And we have enough for the country, and we'll be able to export out to our neighboring countries. Not the marketing government, PF, no. That is how people who think who want to run the country like the new Dawn government is trying to do. That is how things are done. Okay? So on the promises, just wait. Just see the way they are doing their things. Once they bring this, NAPSA, you talked about a lot of things. What is happening? People are getting money. No hiccups. Well thought decisions. Well thought. I think this is what I wanted to put across, comrade.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Please call us on the number that's scrolling, 0773 783 785. You can call on WhatsApp, same number. Let me take time for Emmanuel from Northwestern Province, who challenged me that, Ambassador, what will you do differently if you're elected? I've been very, very clear that first I'll pay attention to agriculture, mining, tourism, and the industrialization of this country. IMF will be a last resort, they will not be a first resort. Let me take this call, and I hope I'll find time to answer Emmanuel clearly. Good evening, tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Very well. Kindly mute your device.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Now, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Okay, this is Mr. Banda.
Okay.
Yes, I'm calling you from Western Province.
Yes.
Mr. Ambassador, I just want to advise from the caller who is from calling.
Yes.
Yes. Ambassador, to be honest, things are not okay on the ground.
Yeah.
No matter how people they are going to praise a new dawn, things are okay, things are going this way, but things are not okay, to be honest. Because we need to lead on an example. If it was wrong in PF, it cannot be right in new dawn government. Things are not okay. Zambians people suffering day and night. We are working tirelessly in order for us to see things moving, but the things the way they are moving on this step now. Look at the mini-meal. Mini-meals, these are things whereby they promised tirelessly to say no, we are going to reduce them to the level that every Zambian is going to enjoy. But if we fold our hands and say, okay, the new Dawn government is going to reduce these things in 5 years from now, where are we going to be ourselves?
Yeah.
Where are we going to be ourselves? To be honest, if you say, okay, let's give them chance to perform, maybe they stay in 5 years power, that's why now maybe these things will come to stabilize. But honestly speaking, if it are that, this indication which they are giving us now, they are in a bad position. What hope do we have that in the future things are going to be okay?
Yeah.
We come back to the same mines in Copper Belt. These are real issues which are happening. They are condemned the PF to say, no, we don't want Vedanta. Vedanta is a thief who has been working tirelessly with the PF. They are stealing money, so we want to change the system. Now, what system are they planning to change? And they are bringing the same Vedanta into mind to learn those mines. And the people of Copper Belt have been complaining about the same Vedanta. And what solution do they have right now that they are going to give hope for the people from Copper Belt that we are going to do things different from PF? So it's more like it's a circle where they are just moving along the same circle. If it was wrong in PF, then they found the mistakes in PF. Let them come out with a proper solution which they are going to govern this country. What we need to see is a change, the change which they promised. That's what we are deserving. Every change, if the promise is change, let them change. Let not they used to change to do the comparison from the previous. That's not the way to work.
Yeah.
People have suffered, to be honest. These are real issues. People have suffered, and this is not what we were expecting. When they're front of camera, what they talk is different. When they switch off the camera, what they talk again is different. Their action and the everyday works not corresponding at all.
Yeah. Okay, my brother, thank you very much for your contribution. I think we've got you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ambassador.
Thank you. Mukosa says the PF damaged agriculture. Of course, people will not agree with you. The PF delivered the highest bumper harvest ever in this country in 2021, 3.7 million metric tons. Never happened before. And they followed it up another 2022, 3.5 million metric tons. The UPND found, reserves under Food Reserve Agency, reserve stocks of over 1.5 million metric tons after national consumption. So you can't blame the PF that they damaged. And most of the things that Mr. Mukosa said I plead to differ with him. Of course, he has a right to hold such an opinion, and Mr. Banda has agreed with me and has taken time to correct him. But let me take time to answer Emmanuel from Northwestern Province, who challenged me that what will you do differently? First of all, there will be no tax holidays or tax incentive unfairly provided to the mining sector as done by this government, which has reduced our earnings and incomes from over $1.2 billion. Now it's hovering around $400 million. The money we are looking for IMF can be raised locally. I would renegotiate unfair and corrupt power purchase agreements that were entered into by ZESCO and independent power producers, including the 8 ones that have been entered by this new government, because they've not published the terms of those agreements that they've signed. We want to know, what is ZESCO buying that power, at what price, for what period? 20 years, we need to understand. I would reform Zambia Revenue Authority and widen the tax base to achieve tax revenue base of 22 to 25% of gross domestic product, not the current one where ZRA is raising between 15 and 19% of our GDP. I would revise taxes such as VAT that are constantly and frequently abused. If you see our largest debt we have locally under ZRA is VAT refunds. Because if you collect money from a person and you say you refund them, why are you now eating from other taxes to run that tax? Is totally inefficient, and it's a form of abuse and fraud. I'll empower the CCMIH to immediately run KCM and Mopani, and I would implement a scheme to run gold and gemstone mines with artisanal small-scale miners with the organization with their Royal Highnesses. I will increase the CMI shareholding in all large-scale mines. You cannot have a large-scale mine in Zambia without the same participation, but that's how it is now. The biggest mines in Africa that are in Northwestern Province, the state is missing. They are privately and totally owned by the private sector. Yet, this is your mineral wealth they're mining. I would look at revising the state of our economy. I know many economists and government love to keep our economy understate. They understate our economy so that they can get those grants from international organizations. But for me, I'll do a transparent and true measure of our economy, and if possible, then, you know, rebase it. There's a call. Let me take this call. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Mwamba. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mwamba, the way you are articulating the things, you are saying you are going to do this and this when you are empowered to do those things. What's the problem with you guys? Talk the realities, yes?
Okay.
Mr. Mwamba. Yes?
Your name, sir?
This is TM. This is TM.
TM. Okay, TM, I'll answer you. Thank you. So I was answering Emmanuel, who said, Emmanuel, what will you do differently? And Mr. TM has said, as I had an opportunity to be in government, why didn't I do this? I'll answer him too. So I'll immediately plan and implement a robust program to grow food to export to 400 million people that surround us in SADC, instead of planning for 20 million like every government has always done. I'll reform law enforcement agencies and remove the petty and narrow manner in which they operate, where they've criminalized wealth, they target people, they seize assets, and people that are rich keep their money abroad, including the president. For me, I'll reform law enforcement agencies. Please tell us where you're calling from, your name and where you're calling us from.
My name is Stephen Banda.
Mr. Banda, Stephen, where are you calling us from?
From Kitwe.
From Kitwe. Make your contribution, sir.
Yes, I just want to ask, I'm not an economist, neither am I very educated, but even when you run a business, you really need adequate capital. Yeah. But then when you get a president that comes in and he lobbies for $1.3 billion, and then he's being given quarterly or let's say like 10% or 15% of the amount he's lobbied from. But what does he expect? I mean, what do you expect? How does he expect to run the economy? Because first and foremost, institutions like Mopani need over $500 million just to run. KC and Concola needs $1.5 billion just to run. 1.5, yeah. Then we need brand new fertilizer plants. The same one we must, put in good use, the one in Chilanga, then make another one maybe in the Copper Belt or maybe Northwestern. We have 2 fertilizer producing plants. Then we set an agenda for the tourism, which I think nobody has addressed, what we're going to do with the tourism sector. It's been quiet. And then we need monies again for farming inputs, tobacco, maize, all these consumables, which we need another 500 million to give big farmers so that they can kickstart the production. How do you only lobby for $1.3 billion? You're supposed to lobby. For me, if I became president, which I know I'll never be, my minimum out lobby is $5 billion.
Yeah.
Because then I will split the monies even and start the projects kicking where in every province you set up projects. When the projects start taking off in about 8 months or maybe 1 year, 5 months, things start exploding. Here you're gaining, here you are in, and it will create a lot of employment because when the wheel starts running here, things are making sense. There it's popping. But now you wonder, you people go to university and you claim you've got degrees. But then, why can't you guys run the economy? Because we have the minerals, we have the infrastructure, we have the largest. We have 27% of water in the whole of Africa. Zambia's got the largest. And then even that water, the Concola Deep water, if we have to export that water instead of throwing it out in the Concola Deep, export it to Zimbabwe and South Africa, they need water. Even that can bring us back revenue. But I don't know what you educated people want to make life so difficult when things are so straightforward. And then you get Ukraine is being given $15 billion for free. And then they're subjecting us to conditions. Is that not, because I understand a loan is supposed to be terms of payment, not conditions, where they put gay rights and what. That is already corruption. The West is giving us, they are the ones who are starting corruption. So I don't understand why we, you educated guys, don't think. What is the problem?
Thank you very much, my brother.
Okay.
Here you have a government being run by some of the most educated people, and they don't see these basic needs. I was answering my dear brother, but we've got a roadmap, and you can hold us accountable. We can even implement this law in which you can recall us from power if you feel that we are not fulfilling. That's why we are promoting good laws and making you, the citizens, to perform monitoring and evaluation. It should not be in some small department somewhere. You don't need a presidential delivery unit. The presidential delivery unit should be you who should say, Mr. President, you are failing to deliver, and we'll recall you. And so when you have an ambitious plan, it should be an accountable, ambitious plan. My dear brother from Kitwe says, look, minimum you need for our economy is not $1.3 billion from the IMF. It should be $5 billion. And he has itemized and justified why we need $5 billion. I agree with you. This country has money. From our gold, sugilite, gemstones, copper, cobalt, we can raise this money. We don't even have to go to the IMF. There's available money in this country. There's always a report I cite that shows that Zambia loses $3 billion in taxes, tax cheating mechanism, tax dodging mechanisms, and incentives we willfully provide as government. We lose up to $3 billion a year. This is money that can be injected to industrialize our country, to mechanize our agriculture, to provide, infrastructure such as roads, bridges, crossing points for the economy to thrive. And he's right. What happens to you educated people? You even appear to be more failures than the uneducated Dr. Kaunda, who delivered miracles for this country. On KCM and Vedanta, someone asked, where will you get the money to run them? Well, ZCCMIH is an international company. It's a $1 billion economy, company. It can source this money. When you give Vedanta KCM, what do you think Vedanta will do? They will take the assets of KCM and go to the market to borrow. They will not get any money. Besides, they are highly indebted. They have a $9 billion hole on their books. Where do you think they'll get money to run KCM? They'll use the assets of KCM and go to a bank. Why can't JCCMIH do that? Why can't JCCMIH be allowed to use the books of Mopani to get the capital injection required and run Mopani? Why do you think Sibani Water from South Africa, which specializes in buying mining dumps, to come and run Mopani, one of the largest mines in Africa? Why can't ZCMIH do it? Why do we have this vote of no confidence in our own people, in our own companies? That's the attitude. My focus would never be on foreign companies and foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment, foreign companies and the IMF will be supplemental to a robust local program run by you and me. Mr. Banda says we need 3 fertilizer plants. First of all, you need to rehabilitate NCZ. NCZ is a chemical company that produces many chemicals, including fertilizer, and it just requires $30 to $50 million. Yet we are spending $300 to $400 million on fertilizer every year. We cannot find $50 million to rehabilitate NCZ that it can begin to provide and produce at optimal level, and we will not then need to import these fertilizers that we are importing. So I like your thinking, my brother, how we can use the agricultural sector, how we can utilize all these opportunities, industrialize our districts. This country is a rich country, it can be done. Today, as I begin to wind up, we were discussing the power of RICO, where you can have a RICO election law that will compel citizens within 6 months, if they think that a public official who they elected has not performed, they should do a petition and call for fresh election. This law exists in many jurisdictions, including the US, where you think someone you voted for has gone haywire, is not living up to the promises to deliver goods and services in which you gave him the mandate. You don't have to wait for them to save the entire full term. Laws exist. I cited various countries, including Peru, Ecuador, Japan, Argentina, Germany, and the US. For the US, you have power. You can recall your senator or your governor if you think that they are not performing. Recently, I think there was a petition for the Californian governor, but it couldn't meet the required 25% and it failed. So it didn't go through. You don't have to wait for your MP, you elect them and they do a war on you. They go missing until after 5 years. You can petition if you have such a law. Early elections can be enshrined in the Constitution using the power of RICO, a RICO election law, where citizens can petition, even if they think that the president is not performing. Maybe 3 provinces can petition and you can have a fresh election. That was our proposal. And we used President Hakainde Hichilema as an example. He made numerous pledges, and many of them have come to naught. He has not fulfilled any of those election pledges. In fact, they say the internet never forgets, and we demonstrated by playing the various audios. As we end today's program, we are going to play the videos and then my theme song at the end. And I'll read this passage today. Today I'm fascinated by Psalm 23. You know it, how powerful Psalm 23 is. It's the one I'm going to read for you. It's a Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, and I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures, and he leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they will comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Surely your goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord. Good night. God bless you. We'll start with the videos that we played at the beginning. We play my theme song, and see you on Friday. God bless you, and see you next time.
We laugh about that fact, that's a fact, because there's an assumption or a behavior by PF suggesting that Vedanta was operating on their own. No. Vedanta na PF government. They were one team. They were sitting on the same boards. They were sitting in the same shareholders meetings. So they knew, the PF knew what was happening with KCM under Vedanta. Because the joint venture is to cut corruption in the procurement of fertilizer and seed. For now, corruption of the PF constitutes to almost 40% of the high cost of fertilizer. Instead of buying spots, meaning buying at short notice, we will be buying forward. Buying forward, as our symbol says, forward, means we will be buying ahead of the seasons, well ahead of the seasons. And the benefit of doing that is that we can have discounts. Using our knowledge, using our experience of business, using our contacts in the global fertilizer market, we will be able to reduce further the cost of inputs. What else are we going to do? As UPND, we will buy bulk. We will buy bulk, meaning larger quantities, again, further discounts. Number 4, what are we going to do? We will improve on the transportation arrangements. The fertilizer that is destined for Eastern Province will be brought in through the Nakala port. As it comes up north from Nakala port, all the requirements for Eastern Province will be dropped along the way there, and not brought to Lusaka and then taken back to Ndazi or Chipata. That's double transportation. We'll get rid of it. I'm saying so today, journalists, so the people of Zambia can hear our answers. Because many times the PF says, what is UPND going to do? This is what we're going to do to solve this problem permanently. We will not sell maize to Congo or Angola or Malawi or elsewhere. We will ask the Malawians and the Angolans, what do you want to consume from us? You want meal? We will mill the maize here so that we increase the utilization of our milling capacity, milling companies.
Weumfokulira kwa bantu kaza mayusi bose batinda be abakulu n'abana bose bashitata n'abana mayo banerira we mwamba kaza mayire fire iwe wile we boeshi mwamba leader experience alakale we bomba mwamba Emmanuel bose bakasama bale fire mwamba Emmanuel bakasama bakulira bale fire mwamba we Emmanuel Emmanuel, Mwamba Emmanuel.